Well, 59 grave sites at a Jewish cemetery in Fall River were vandalized in mid-March. 2 headstones were pushed over, and the rest were desecrated with anti-Semitic language, some referencing Hitler. One of the messages reading, "This is MAGA country."
There has been a rise in these incidents over the past few years here in the U.S., especially here in Massachusetts. And of course, there was last week's shooting at a synagogue in California, the latest incident to leave the Jewish community really shaken.
So joining us tonight is the director of the Anti-Defamation League in New England, Robert Trestan. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. You have just finished a report, the ADL has, on how many incidents we saw in 2018. What are some of the headlines of what you found?
We're at historic numbers. You know, we've been tracking anti-Semitic incidents since the late 1970s, and 2018 in Massachusetts is now the second highest number that we've seen on record.
Down slightly from 2017, but still at a
we had a 19% decrease from the year before, but we're still at historic numbers. 2017 was the highest number, so a slight decrease. One real concern is an increase in assaults. So Massachusetts saw 3 people assaulted solely because they were Jewish, but that's actually consistent with an increase in assaults across the country. So one of the troubling outcomes here is nationally, we're starting to see people acting out on their hatred, and they're acting it out in a violent way. That's a very disturbing change.
And instead of it just being vandalism or incidents of hate speech, the rise in violence seems to indicate something new. What do you attribute that to? What do you think is changing?
It's a changing environment. And I think we need to keep in mind that although we live in Massachusetts, regardless of which city or town we may be in, people across the state are getting exposed to anti-Semitism. But the anti-Semitism is connected to the rest of the country, and we're seeing global connections. And so a lot of the people who traffic in hatred, whether it's anti-Semitism or racism or other forms, they inspire one another. And so when somebody goes into a cemetery and purposely targets the Jewish community, they're also sending messages. The messages that were written on those headstones are messages to other people in other parts of the country and the world that this is okay.
It gives license to another person to maybe act out.
Well, it gives them encouragement. We even have seen the recent synagogue shooting in California. The shooter was inspired by by Christ Church. So we're seeing extremists who are killing Muslims are also killing Jews.
I do have a question about the next year and a half or so. We're in the midst of a very tense political debate, both here in this country, but also among political parties around the world about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And as a lot of people will hear criticism of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the decisions made about policy in Israel, many people interpret that as anti-Semitic. Are you concerned about the 2020 campaign, as that just becomes more of the conversation, that the possibility that criticism of Israel can be misinterpreted or can be intended to be anti-Semitism?
Well, there's I think coming out of the last campaign, the last election cycle, and going into this next one, we should be concerned because we saw a tremendous spike in all types of hatred. It's not just rhetoric, and it's not political speech. And so this is a time that we should be reminding ourselves that those running for office, regardless of party or platform, need to keep their words in check, need to keep their analogies in check. And certainly it's fine to criticize any country's government. It's what we do, particularly in the United States, where we're engaged in robust dialogue. But that certainly should not cross the line towards hatred, whether it's Israel or another country.
You track all hate crimes. It's not just anti-Semitism. And the FBI numbers and the numbers that you've seen is that we've seen a rise in all forms of hatred. What is going on?
One of the reasons is the dissemination of hatred in the mainstream. And some of these examples that we're talking about, it's sending this message, and too many people are feeling a little more empowered.
And probably fueled by social media as well.
Well, social media exists now in a way that it didn't exist even 5 years ago. So all of these messages are being transmitted, and that's how a potential shooter in California reads a manifesto written by someone halfway around the world.
Right. And Liam brings up an interesting point, which is your average person out there watching this is horrified. As an individual, what can you do?
We need to take a stand, and it's time for all of us. Everybody actually can play a role in this, because the vast majority of us, and I'd argue almost everyone in Massachusetts, has a good moral compass, and we should be guided by our moral compasses. And so if we see something that we know is wrong, we should be calling it out, and we should be standing up for ourselves. We should be standing up for others, and we really also need to be focused on education for the younger generation. The Massachusetts students in middle school and high school today, they represent the future.
And we've seen a rise in the number of incidents at schools as well. Swastikas written on bathroom stalls, that sort of thing.
So education is critical. Anti-bias education needs to be a part of the regular curriculum. There's a bill in the State House on Beacon Hill right now to make genocide education mandatory in Massachusetts. It's a recommended topic, but it's not required for everyone.
Well, the Anti-Defamation League has a new report out on the number of incidents here in Massachusetts. We'll put a link to that on our website, cbsboston.com. Robert Trestan, the director of ADL New England, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. And we're going to send it to